Welcome to HFY Stories. Please subscribe to the channel. Your one click means the world to me. At 0612, Ren Calder's data pad flashed with a sanctioned challenge, and her thumb stopped a centimeter above the screen. The request had an accept button, a decline button, and enough official seals to make one thing obvious. Somebody wanted an audience. She read it twice before setting both feet on the cold dormitory floor. 3 days earlier, Ren had wanted exactly the opposite. She had arrived at Heian Military Academy determined to disappear into the crowd. At 6 feet tall, that mostly meant keeping her brown hair tied back, her voice low and her abilities lower. Other cadets saw a human and filled in the rest themselves. Soft home world, moderate gravity, diplomatic species, probably harmless. Ren let them. Commander Eves nearly disturbed that plan before classes even began. She caught Ren near the training fields, glanced down at a data pad, then back up. Kessel's Ridge. We rarely place cadets from Deathworld colonies in the general track. That's the track I requested, ma'am. Most applicants with your background choose specialized units. Ren kept her hands loose at her sides. I'm not looking for specialized treatment. Eves watched her for a beat, entered a note, and let her go. Ren walked away with the unpleasant sense that somebody had already noticed the thing she most wanted ignored. Kessel's Ridge had taught her that showing strength without need was wasteful. The colony pulled at every body with 1.5 standard gravity. Groundstorms could turn open air into a hazard within minutes. Native ridge runners were fast enough that children learned escape drills before most off-world children learned long division. None of that was visible on Ren's face. During orientation, a Tarnavi cadet named Draven Rosk made sure half the amphitheater heard his opinion of humans. Maybe the academy should give them extra recovery time, he said, drawing laughter from the cadets around him. We wouldn't want the rest of us delayed. Ren kept her eyes on Commander Eves at the podium. The next afternoon, Sergeant Okran introduced basic grappling in the combat hall. He was a broad Darun instructor who treated every movement as if it deserved a reason. Balance, leverage, redirection, no wasted force. Ren practiced with Iris, a quick Velcan cadet, deliberately slowing every turn. Then Draven approached. Kessel's Ridge, he said. That's your colony. Yes. I heard it has a dramatic registry rating. Ren tightened the tie on her hair. The registry likes categories. One of Draven's friends snorted. Okran called the class to the center ring. I need 2 cadets for a live redirection demonstration. Draven volunteered immediately. Then he pointed at Ren. She should try it. 40 cadets shifted toward the ring. Ren could have refused. Refusal, however, would create questions. Questions were attention. So she stepped onto the mat. Okran positioned them opposite each other. A controlled push, your partner redirects. This is about mechanics, not dominance. Draven nodded. Ren saw the lie in his shoulders before he moved. His feet loaded forward, his elbows stiffened. His eyes flicked toward his friends instead of her stance. Begin. Draven drove both hands into her. Ren's body answered before embarrassment had time to exist. She caught his forearms, turned her hips, lowered her center, and gave his momentum a new path. The motion had been drilled into her on packed dirt under heavier gravity, where a mistake meant stone instead of padding. Draven's grin vanished when his feet left the floor. He hit the mat with a heavy boom. Something underneath cracked. The room went silent. Draven lay in a split section of padding, staring upward. Ren remained standing where she had begun, breathing evenly. Okran crossed the ring and checked him. Status. Draven dragged in a breath. Fine. Okran looked at Ren. Cadet Calder. He pushed beyond the drill, she said. I redirected him. Whispers broke around the circle. Draven sat up, humiliation rising faster than he did. That wasn't normal. She has to be augmented. Okran's head turned slowly. Every cadet here was medically cleared before admission. What happened was simpler. You supplied excessive momentum. She controlled where it ended. Draven said nothing. Ren wished the floor would swallow the attention as easily as it had swallowed the impact. After class, Okran brought her into a side room. He did not ask whether she had been lucky, How young were you when survival training started? Ren's fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. Balance drills at 4, storm recognition at 6, defensive movement by 8. And the colony conditions. 1.5 gravity, dangerous mineral dust, ground storms with short warning windows, predators that can cross 40 meters in seconds. Okran sat back. For the first time, his expression changed. I read the classification in your file, he said. I assumed modern infrastructure had made it mostly historical. It hasn't. That explains your reaction. I overdid it. No, Okran planted one large hand on the table. Draven chose to turn a teaching drill into a public test. You defended yourself with trained technique. The report will say that. Relief loosened Ren's shoulders. Then he added, your current training level is wrong for you. Her shoulders tightened again. I came here to be a cadet, Sergeant, not a specimen. Okran studied her for several seconds. Then stop forcing yourself into exercises that make you pretend to be less capable than you are. That is not anonymity, it is bad calibration. That evening, Iris knocked on Ren's door. Was what you did normal where you grew up? Ren considered it. The the reaction, yes. Iris looked unsettled. Ren shrugged. On Kessel's Ridge, hesitation can cost more than pride. 3 days later came the challenge, now glowing on her data pad. Draven wanted a sanctioned rematch, supervised, public, full technique permitted. Okran told her she could refuse. Would that end it? Ren asked. Officially, yes. And unofficially? Okran did not answer quickly enough. By evening, Ren pressed accept. 2 days later, every seat around the Academy's largest combat ring was occupied. Commander Eves stood beside Okran at the ring. Draven waited opposite Ren without the grin he had worn during their first encounter. This time he looked prepared. Eves raised one hand. A surrender, inability to continue, or an instructor's stop will end this. You both understand. They nodded. Begin. Draven circled instead of rushing. Good, Ren thought. He tested distance with quick steps, then attacked with a controlled strike. Ren turned it aside. He followed with another, adjusted when she moved, and forced her to give ground. He was skilled, much better than the careless shove had suggested. A third attack came low. Ren checked it with her shin and pivoted away. Draven recovered before she could use the opening. He tried to trap her near the edge. She slipped past his lead side. Nothing about him was careless now, and Ren respected him more for making her work. For several exchanges, shoes snapped against the mat while the bleachers stayed quiet. Draven pressed. Ren redirected. He changed rhythm. She changed angle. Then his breathing shortened. His right shoulder lifted before the next entry, and he reached a fraction too far. Ren stepped inside. She turned his shoulder, cut his balance, and brought him down under control. Before he could recover, she secured his arm and pinned his torso against the mat. Draven strained once. Ren tightened only enough to make the choice clear. Yield. His breathing rasped against the floor. For 1 second, too. Then his free hand struck the mat twice. Commander Eves's voice carried across the hall. Match concluded. Cadet Calder wins. Release. Ren let go instantly and backed away. Draven rose slowly. No excuses came. No accusation followed. He looked at her, then extended his hand. You earned that. Ren took it, so did you. The bleachers finally exhaled into noise. A week later, Draven waited alone outside the training hall. Ren stopped a few steps away. I owe you an apology, he said. She said nothing. Not for losing. I challenged you and lost fairly. His plated fingers flexed at his side. I mean the first demonstration. I chose you because I expected an easy humiliation. I judged you before I knew anything about you. Ren watched his face carefully. Draven continued. I also treated what I thought about humans as if it were evidence. It was. I knew a reputation, not a people. Then I decided your silence proved the reputation. Ren folded her arms. So this is about respect now. It's about correcting something I did wrong before I ask you for anything else. She had expected pride to make him defensive. Instead, he stood there without friends, excuses, or an audience to impress. "What changed your mind?" she asked. A broken mat helped. A small laugh escaped her before she could stop it. His expression softened, then grew serious again. "I want to understand Kessel's Ridge. Not so I can repeat stories about you. I want to know what I failed to see." So Ren told him. She described the gravity, the sealed shelters, the storms, and the drills her family had treated as ordinary childhood necessities. Draven listened without turning any of it into spectacle. That mattered more to Ren than his defeat. Over the following weeks, Okran moved her into advanced combat instruction. Other human cadets from difficult colonies began admitting that they, too, had hidden parts of their backgrounds. Ren answered their questions instead of retreating from them. Near the end of term, Commander Eves reviewed Ren's evaluations. "You're performing better," she said. "And Sergeant Okran says other cadets have started coming to you." "I didn't plan that. Do you mind it?" Ren looked through the office window toward the training grounds. "Not anymore." Eves folded her hands. "What changed?" Ren took her time. "I thought being fully seen would make people treat me like a threat instead of a person, so I kept giving them a smaller version." "What do you believe instead?" "They can know both." Eves nodded once. Ren left the office and crossed the training grounds beneath Hyun's pale, harmless sky. The air carried no dust warning, no storm siren, no pressure change telling her to run for shelter. Her braid moved lightly against the back of her uniform. This time, as she walked past the open training rings, Ren kept her head up.